And opening the content browser, I am going to right click on my static mesh and go down to Reimport static mesh. Now just to make sure that that worked, if I click on the show collision button, you can see that we now have these collision meshes applied to the object. So we've got 6 collision primitives, and we've got a minimal number of triangles on those collisions. So I think we can get away with having 6 collision meshes. We could perhaps reduce that number if we wanted to be a bit more frugal with it. Love that word, frugal. Anyway, now that we've swapped out that static mesh, we will have to rebuild our level. Okay. So with all of that done, let's see how it plays. Okay, so you can see that now we have collision on our mesh. Everything is working fine. And if we just go to behind view, we can see how this wow, even blocks our camera. Brilliant. Okay. So there we go. We've now applied a collision mesh to our object. Now let's have a look at some ways that we can import different variations on this object. I'm going to import a lower res mesh and a higher res mesh, and we'll look at the benefits of each of those. So I'll go back to Maya, and the first thing that I'll do is create the low res mesh. And now up here I have selection of edge loops. I've dragged this down to my toolbar. You'll be able to find this, okay, and it's under select and select edge loop tool. And so we double click on these edges here, and just using the I'll go back to selection mode. Just using the delete edge vertex function that I used before, we've gotten rid of those edges and any vertices that were associated with it. So we don't have any vertices left behind to cause us problems. And we've also taken the number of triangles in this main object down to 40, which is an incredibly small amount considering the effect that we're going to generate. So just AX mesh again, export mesh, and this time I'm going to just put low underscore 01 and save that. Back in UDK, I will open up the content browser and now we will import that static mesh. Okay. And we'll open up the static mesh. Hopefully it's got the collisions that we've applied. Yes, it does. Okay, now switch the collisions back off. And for our material, we can use the same material that we used for the other static mesh. And there we go. And so, with that mesh selected, I'm just going to come down here and I'm going to drag out a copy to here. In fact, I will delete, well, I'll delete them on one side, there, and bring this guy into there. And drag out a copy of that one to there. And now I will build all again. So now we have our lower res version. Wouldn't you know it, I've put it on the wrong orientation. That's alright. You'll be able to get the idea. So we'll play from here. Okay. And you can see that our mesh looks pretty much the same as it did before. We've got our normal map happening. We've got our bump offset subtly sort of changing things. In fact, it's a little less subtle in this version than it is in this version. So if we come over here, we don't get that warping there on the side. But with this one we do. We get a slight warping just off in the corner of our viewport. And that's when we get up really close. And that's the key issue, being really close to this mesh. Because if we wanted to, we could import this and make this a lower level of detail version of this mesh here, so that when we're further away from camera, we construct this fairly simple low poly model, which looks practically the same as this one over here. So next we'll go in and we'll have a look at importing that more complicated mesh that we exported out from ZBrush.